Hey guys, did you know that there's a new documentary out there exposing creeps in Hollywood? I know I need to be a little bit more specific because, well, we all kind of know that it's creeps who run Hollywood. But we're talking about Nickelodeon, Dan Schneider, and a bunch of those kids that didn't really make it out the other side because, okay, for as many excuses that were made for the Amanda Bynes, and hell, I know that it's a different medium, but it kind of has manifested the same result. The Mickey Mouse Club kids, how many of them are of sound mind and body? For every Justin Timberlake that's out there, you got his ex, old crazy Britney Spears, dancing with knives at the age of 40 going, everything's great and everything's fine. There's a problem with kids in Hollywood. For every Elijah Wood saying that, oh, thank God my parents took care of me and that I made it out unharmed. The Corey Hames and the Corey Feldmans of the world saying that there are some powerful people running some gross rings. It's like Hollywood is kind of a seedy place. So to see these accusations come out about people that had a lot of power back in the cut, I tend to believe it. But then at the same time, we've also seen these opportunistic documentaries like Leaving Neverland, trying to throw Michael Jackson under the bus. So I am predisposed to believe the accusations that are made here because there's a track record. This is far more akin to the Harvey Weinstein type stuff. I'm not making those accusations because I have nothing really to go on. That's an entirely different kettle of fish. Dan Schneider, I don't really necessarily know if he had a favorite fern to go pose behind, but he definitely had his own rumors for a long time, something feet. But those have been out there forever. It's been an open secret. And then with Quiet on the Set coming out, well, it's really shed some disturbing light on a lot of this stuff. I'll be completely honest, being up here in Canada, even though his work, all of his shows on Nickelodeon during the late 90s, early 2000s, that should have been right in my wheelhouse, but we didn't have Nickelodeon up here in Canada, and everything that I got was like secondhand, and by the time that they had more exposure up here in the north, well, I was aged out at that point in time. I'm coming at this with a fresh set of eyes. Outside of just knowing that he's the #1 fan of WikiFeet, I don't really know much about Dan Schneider, and then the rest of them I'm kind of ambivalent towards. I know a few of the names, a couple of the players, but outside of my general bias against Hollywood, it's not really anything that I have first-hand information on, which makes it perfect for setting up the story. So Quiet on Set directors on approaching the Nickelodeon stars for Dan Schneider docuseries and doing more episodes. So yeah, I think the first one dropped earlier this week, and well, there's been stuff coming out of this, man, and it's interesting, but no formal charges yet. That's the only thing that really, not so much skeptical as your general post-wall chick that comes out with some spurious accusations, okay, in order to try and secure a bag. It's just, even as big of a creep as everybody knows Dan Schneider is, he's still innocent until proven guilty. That's just the way the court system works. Nothing in Investigation's Discovery docuseries, Quiet on the Set, the dark side of kids' TV, is likely to hold viewer attention so lastingly as Drake Bell, coming forward to recall being SA'd during his time at as a Nickelodeon child star. Yeah, we'll be talking about him a lot more going forward because he's kind of the central figure in this. He was obviously a part of Drake and Josh, which was one of the big Nickelodeon shows, and well, this has kind of been his story for a long time. Mary Robertson, who directed the ID four-parter with Emma Schwartz, recalled their set being all hush and stillness when Bell, for the first time, shared his story of abuse at the hands of a child predator. Normally, you hear people fidgeting. You couldn't hear anyone fidget. We all sat silent, wrapped in reverence for his bravery, and listened. Bell, the star of Drake and Josh and The Amanda Show, right, and that's somebody else who we're going to be talking about, and somebody else who has had, well, quite a public meltdown over the past few years, and because of her devolving in the public eye, everybody looking back at her past going, well, what exactly happened there? But we'll run through the rest of this. Names himself as a John Doe victim in Brian Peck's lawsuit. Okay, his case in the 3rd episode of Quiet on the Set, which aired on Tuesday. Oh, okay, so that's where we're at. The actor's former dialogue coach was convicted of, a child actor in 2004, the time when the show was going on. So, okay. He pleaded no contest to the charges of committing a lewd act against, and was sentenced to 16 months in prison. So we have a conviction that's right there. Okay, he was the injured party in this. Okay, so these claims are starting to become a little bit more substantiated, so it's starting to definitely chip away at my skepticism. Bell had not previously identified himself as the victim. He opens up and quiet on the set again, or about the abuse beginning when he was 15. It just got worse and worse and worse and worse, and I was just trapped, and I had no way out. The abuse was extensive and it got pretty brutal, he shares in the doc, which focuses on toxic environment claims around popular TV show creator and run by prolific Nickelodeon producer Dan Schneider. Everything that happens on the show Dan ran was carefully scrutinized by dozens of involved adults and approved by the network. So, are we trying to throw Nickelodeon as a network under the bus too? The Me Too era sparked by Harvey Weinstein scandal, after he outlived his usefulness, because again, that was a big open secret, and now we're seeing Dan Schneider's usefulness run its course, so now they're just, uncovering this very open secret that has long gone unchecked in Hollywood. So that's why it's always hilarious whenever you hear the moralizing and grandstanding from people in Hollywood. It's like, we know what you have to partake in. We know what you actively do in order to get your standing, okay? And if you're not calling this stuff out, why should I take advice from you, cowards and cretins? But it's taken Robertson and Schwartz blowing the dust off an open secret in the kids' TV industry. See, it's the exact same situation. It's just a different medium. Allegations of abuse, sexism, and racism, and inappropriate behavior that long swirled around Schneider-led sets to bring to light claims of inappropriate behavior involving underage stars and crew members on Nickelodeon Kids series. And we'll get to the Drake Bell stuff here very shortly. Other things that have come to light that are a little bit creepy. Okay, Quiet on Set unearths a disturbing clip of a young Ariana Grande milking a potato. Sorry, what? Okay, like from the outset, that sounds awful, but if they were doing like a sketch show or something like that, maybe it's a little bit more understandable. Episode 1, Rising Star, Rising Questions, shows a montage of inappropriate clips featuring former Nickelodeon child star, one of which includes Grande pretending to milk a potato. How do you milk a potato? During a comedic bit and pouring water over her face in a sexualized manner. Yeah, that's creepy. There are all these kinds of setups that reference, corn, exactly. An interview subject says before the montage, "Are you kind of poisoning the well right there?" I'm not familiar with the clip, but okay. In the video, Grande sits on a bed. Okay, see, that's a little bit weirder, and says, "Sometimes I wonder if you can get juice from a potato." Oh, okay, I can see the context where that would be acceptable, but before grunting and wrapping her hands around the potato. Well, trying to squeeze a potato for juice like you would with many other root vegetables. Okay, fine. The potato video first surfaced in 2022 when a tweet called out Grande's reluctance to revisit her previous work with Dan Schneider, which includes Victorious and Sam and Cat. I don't know idea. Ariana is a victim herself from the creepiness of Dan Schneider. This is why she doesn't talk about the role of Cat Valentine anymore. They sexualized and infantilized her, the tweet read, in reference to one of her characters. Yeah, maybe, potentially. It just, on its own, it kind of sounds like an empty accusation, but with the whole totality of events, maybe, potentially, I can see where you're coming from. But maybe something that's a little bit more concrete has been, the downfall of Amanda Bynes. Somebody who got institutionalized after walking around nude or semi-nude the early morning hours of Los Angeles. Her looking completely and totally unrecognizable from her younger days. I understand she's much older than she was during the time. She was one of the poster children of Nickelodeon. And now, now she's one of the poster children of too much, too young, too fast. And, you could also throw on, a poisonous Hollywood culture over the top of it. Amanda Bynes and Dan Schneider's creepy jacuzzi sketch. Okay, so now we're seeing, questioned and explosive Quiet on Set documentary. A little odd. Yeah, Schneider first discovered Bynes when she was performing the Los Angeles Laugh Factory as a kid. What's wrong with these parents, man? That's another thing. Probably single moms. She eventually joined the All That cast before garnering her own spin-off, The Amanda Show. In one sketch, as she bubbled up on social media, Schneider sits fully clothed in a hot tub with a teenage Bynes who appears to be wearing a swimsuit. He introduces himself as the executive producer and head writer of The Amanda Show, joking that he wrote the whole conversation that we're having right now. Bynes asks him for a raise. He says no. Then they are delivered 2 plates of spaghetti, which they proceed to eat in the jacuzzi while the waiters dance behind them. Yeah, it doesn't sound very funny at all, but it also sounds like an irreverent sketch show from the early 2000s, so I'm not going to take too much umbrage with that. It's just, fully clothed man in a pool, the teenager. That's a little bit weird. Even if it is a show, it definitely is odd. And once again, the totality of the circumstances, really does paint a picture. It really does paint a picture. But as for the main event, the Drake Bell stuff, man, without all of that stuff, the rest of it just kind of looks odd. But somebody who's actually speaking out about first-hand incidents, that's far more credible, at least in my opinion. I'm not saying that, not trying to discount the rest of it. I'm just not somebody who wants to immediately jump to accusations, because those are serious, and those will ruin people's lives and stay with them forever. So make sure that you cross your T's and dot your I's before you start throwing out stuff like this. Drake Bell says Nickelodeon co-star Josh Peck has reached out amid abuse allegations. Take it a little easy on him. And this is why I think there's a lot more credence behind these claims, because Bell, he kind of had to get prompted in order to come forward with this stuff. And he's also not trying to throw everybody else under the bus. It's like, everybody else just needs to have a little bit more tolerance for people that were not in the know. I kept it quiet, which is also following the track record and the pattern also of actual victims, instead of people trying to get the limelight, trying to get attention, trying to assume false valor for things that didn't happen to them. This is a lot more along the lines of the textbook definition of a victim. Drake Bell is asking Drake and Josh fans to take it easy on his co-star Josh Peck after Bell alleged on Quiet on the Set that he was abused by former Nickelodeon dialogue coach Brian Peck. After Bell revealed his experience with Brian during his youth, many Nickelodeon fans took to social media to attack Josh. Although Josh and Brian have the same last name, they are unrelated. Bell has now taken to TikTok to say that Josh has reached out to him and asked fans not to be too harsh over his former co-star. I just want to clear something up. I've noticed a lot of comments on some of Josh's TikToks and some of his posts. I just want to let you guys know that really, processing this and going through this is really emotional time, and and a lot of it's very, very difficult. So not everything is put out in the public, he continued. But I just want you guys to know that he has reached out to me, and it's been very sensitive. But he has reached out, and we're going to reached out to talk to me and help me work through this. And it has been really, really great. So just wanted to let you guys know that, and to take it a little easy on it. So, man, he's handling this as best as you can, and that's a lot to ask for somebody who went through such, as far as we know, very traumatic events in his youth. And the fact that he's not trying to throw anybody else under the bus, I've got somebody you've made somebody a little bit more sympathetic to your case, because you're playing this right, man. And then you have the concessions by Schneider, because, okay, cool, he's being alleged of letting a lot of stuff go on and then also doing some very questionable things. So what are the people being accused of this stuff? What do they have to say for themselves? TV producer Dan Schneider has issued a response to the investigation Discovery docuseries that uncovers the toxic and dangerous culture on the set of his Nickelodeon children's shows in the late 90s and early 2000s. The first 2 installments that dropped on Sunday were meant to reveal an insidious environment rife with allegations of abuse, sexism, racism. Yeah, okay, so you're just kind of taking away from the actual problems right there by lumping on the rest of this stuff. That's why I don't even like the toxic and dangerous culture. No, it's like, if you permitted crimes to go on, that's pretty bad. Why not just stick to that? No, just allege, the rest of this stuff, all of these nefarious buzzwords that'll attract bad faith actors. I don't like it. Dan expected to ask a lot from his teams, according to a statement obtained by Deadline. They worked long hours, consistently made successful shows. So that goes and justifies diddling? Like, what are we doing? In the challenges of production, Dan could get frustrated at times, and he understands why some employees found it intimidating or stressful. Yeah, being a little bit pressed about a tough production schedule is a little bit different than accusations and allegations of doing things untowards to children. Just saying, in a career spanning 30 plus years, Dan worked with thousands of people, many of whom still tell him how much they enjoyed and appreciated working on his shows, but they also know some people did not have a positive experience, and he's truly sorry for that. Yo. Remember, all stories, dialogue, costumes, and makeup were fully approved by the network executives on two coasts. The statement continued. Interesting. A standards and practices group read and ultimately approved every script. So yeah, if you're going to try to throw Dan Schneider under the bus for some of his questionable sketches, well, you've also got to throw Nickelodeon under the bus. And trust me, you're not as powerful as Nickelodeon, so you guys better shut up right now. That's what this reads as. In addition, every day on set, there were always were always parents and caregivers and their friends watching filming and rehearsals. Had there been any scenes or outfits that were inappropriate in any way, they would have been flagged and blocked by this multi-layer scrutiny. Former president of content and production in Nickelodeon, Russell Hicks, also released a statement via Schneider's spokesperson. Dan Schneider is one of the most prolific producers of hit television in the kids and family entertainment business. Dan's shows transcended children's television and are staples on many streaming platforms today. So he's a moneymaker. That's why these companies and these other executives that are still very much in the business want to run cover for this guy, because he's still making money and nobody has supplanted him, like what was happening with Harvey Weinstein. He was kind of getting pushed out as being too much of a liability, and that's why he ended up going away. Long story short, he's been guilty. Oh, he was guilty for a long time. It's just he was still more useful than he was a liability. And the moment that Rubicon got crossed, guess what? You're out. Finishing off the statement, what people seem to be forgetting is the fact that the network has a talent management department that is keeping tabs on everything that has happened and is going on or going to every event these kids go to. There is a standard and practices group that reads every script, and programming executives are looking at every episode. To add to every day on set were the parents and caregivers and the friends, yes, watching every single frame of footage and listening to every joke. Every single thing that Dan ever did on any of the shows was carefully scrutinized and improved by executives at Nickelodeon. So yeah, I don't know where this goes from here, because obviously there's your statement right there from the Dan Schneider types, from the executives, from the people being accused of all of these either questionable decisions all the way up to outright crimes. So it really doesn't seem like they're there to, give an inch at all on this. So until something else comes out, sympathies to Drake Bell, because it really seems like he went through a bunch of stuff, and the fact that he's handling it with such maturity, best of luck to him. But I don't know, are we going to see anything develop off the back of this in the next few days, next few weeks, next few months? Don't know for sure, but this right here, that's been a big talking point. Quiet on the set has trended for quite a few days, and mostly because these have been, like I said before, open secrets. And now that we're finally putting names to faces to accusations, a lot of dots are being connected. We'll just have to see how this ultimately plays out, because there's always been suspicions about what has gone on these child actor sets, given the fact that now they're starting to hit 30s and 40s, and not a lot of them are making it out the other side in a better situation than we first seen them. So hopefully we get some answers to these questions, and they will no longer just simply be suspicions. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.